while the male doctor was giving the pregnant woman a checkup. He took advantage of the moment when the woman's view was blocked and secretly removed his gloves, and he began the gynecological examination in a deviant manner. He thought he had done it without anyone noticing, but little did he know his strange technique made the woman feel that something was off. But due to the man's status as a doctor, she could only choose to endure it silently. After returning home, Claire stayed alone in the bathroom for a long time until her husband came home from work. She finally couldn't hold back and rushed into his arms. After listening to his wife's account, Mike immediately realized that male doctor clearly used the pretense of a prenatal checkup to molest his wife, so he decided to sue. Otherwise, more pregnant women would be harmed. This incident quickly became the focus of the news. At the same time, more victims bravely came forward and exposed the doctor's crimes one after another, under the pressure of public opinion. The male doctor eventually chose to commit suicide. When Mike saw this news in the newspaper, the family lived very happily. But one day, she suddenly suggested wanting to build a sunroom. Mike agreed after hearing her suggestion, but due to his busy work schedule, he proposed hiring a nanny to help take care of the child. Not long after, a young woman named Padden came to apply for the job, but seeing that she was not only young and beautiful, but also dressed brightly and attractively, Claire couldn't help but become suspicious of her true identity. To dispel her doubt, Padden voluntarily explained that she had just lost her child and could no longer have children, so she thought of finding a nanny job to indirectly fulfill her wish of being a mother. However, during their conversation, Peyton noticed that Claire's earring had fallen on the ground, but she didn't say anything about it. And just at that moment, Claire's husband Mike returned home. When Peyton saw how loving they were with each other, a strange look flashed across her eyes. Seeing that they were still somewhat hesitant about hiring her, Peyton decided to put on an act. She took out that earring, then deliberately shouted nervously, "Oh my goodness!" When Claire and her husband rushed over in panic, she was holding the earring in her hand, claiming she found it in the baby's mouth. Just like that, she successfully secured the job. Early the next morning, Peyton moved in with her luggage. She said winged chimes have a soothing effect on babies, and Claire happily accepted this explanation. However, no one could have imagined that. Late at night, Peyton quietly sneaked into the nursery. She tightly clutched the pillow in her hands, staring greedily at the baby in the crib. Suddenly, she forcefully brought down the pillow, but unexpectedly, she only gently placed the pillow aside, then tenderly picked up the baby and started feeding him milk, looking at the quiet and well-behaved baby in her arms. Peyton's face was full of happiness. The next day, Claire planned to wear the red dress her husband gave her to attend an important party with him, but Peyton beside her looked jealous, staring intently at the red dress on the bed, then turned her gaze towards the perfume bottle nearby. An idea quickly formed in her mind. When Claire put on the red dress, she found oil stains from the perfume on the collar, mistakenly thinking she accidentally dirtied it while spraying, so she had no choice but to change into an ordinary dress. Her husband felt a bit displeased when he saw this, but didn't say anything. At the party, her best friend kindly reminded Claire that if the woman employed at home is too beautiful, it might pose a threat to her position, but Claire didn't think so. Meanwhile, Peyton was at home watching a movie with Claire's eldest daughter, but she learned from the girl that there was a boy at school who kept bullying, and her mother always told her to learn to be more tolerant. Unexpectedly, the next day, Peyton came directly to the school. She walked straight up to the boy.
My head!
Claire nearly twisted his arm off. She warned the boy never to bully the girl again, then turned around and laughed in a domineering manner. And this action of hers successfully won the girl's favor. In the days that followed, Peyton would tell stories to the girl every night, while secretly feeding the baby in the middle of the night. She seemed more like the mother of 2 children. But gradually, Claire noticed that the baby was becoming more and more resistant to feeding. Although she found it a bit strange, she didn't take it seriously. That day before her husband left, he handed her an important envelope and asked her to make sure to send it out today. However, Claire decided to water the flowers first, unaware that Peyton had her eyes on that letter. She first pretended to sit on a stool nearby, then quickly got up and walked toward the bathroom. After locking the door, she took out the envelope, furiously tearing the proposal inside into pieces. But that wasn't enough. She then began smashing the door like crazy. After venting, Peyton suddenly felt much better. She fixed her appearance, then accompanied Claire to the post office. As expected, Claire discovered that the proposal had vanished. She immediately realized she had made a big mistake. But to her surprise, despite destroying 3 years of her husband's hard work, her husband did not blame her for it. However, her husband's forgiveness instead it made her feel even more guilty. And what worried her even more was that the baby's resistance to feeding was growing stronger every day. She thought there was something wrong with the baby. But what she didn't know was that this was the result of Peyton secretly feeding the baby every night, gradually reducing the baby's dependence on its birth mother. But Mike thought, as long as the baby's weight was normal, there was no need to worry too much. Not long after, while Mike was busy in his office, Peyton suddenly showed up. She knew Claire's birthday was coming up, so she suggested Mike secretly plan a party for her. Mike's eyes lit up at the idea, thinking this was a great chance to lift his wife's spirits and clear away the gloom she'd been feeling lately. He couldn't help but praise Peyton's suggestion. Seizing the moment, Peyton casually slipped off her clothes. This flirtatious move drew strange looks from the colleagues around her. To avoid any misunderstandings, Mike quickly sent Peyton away. But to his surprise, Peyton's behavior grew even bolder. She actually started feeding the baby in broad daylight, and this scene was accidentally witnessed by the gardener, who was painting outside. Although the gardener had an intellectual disability and couldn't pose much of a threat to her, Peyton still decided to get rid of him.
For this reason,
she deliberately acted troubled and told Claire she felt the way the gardener touched the girl seemed a bit inappropriate, so Claire didn't fully believe her. A seed of doubt had already taken root in her mind. The next day, while Claire was busy renovating the sunroom, Peyton claimed the baby monitor's battery had died and asked Claire to look for a spare one in the gardener's cart. But when Claire opened the drawer in the cart, she found one of her daughter's bras inside. She was utterly shocked. Just then, the gardener happened to walk over. Though the gardener knew Peyton was behind it, he had no way to explain himself and could only accept his fate of being fired. Her daughter couldn't understand why her mom had to fire the gardener. Taking advantage of the situation, Peyton lied, saying she even hinted that one day she might be kicked out, just the same. This not only made the girl start to resent her mother, but at the same time her relationship with Peyton grew closer. One day, not long after, Claire's best friend came to visit. While Peyton was helping to unload things from the car, eyes landed on a lighter in the friend's bag. Meanwhile, the friend noticed the wind chime hanging outside the nursery, and vaguely remembered seeing it somewhere before. With that, she hurriedly left. In the evening, while Claire and Peyton were chatting casually, she suddenly had a whimsical idea, asking Peyton to guess who Mike's first love was. To her surprise, Peyton immediately guessed it was her best friend. Though Peyton claimed it was just a random guess, Claire couldn't help but become suspicious. But what Claire didn't know was that she was falling into a trap. That night, Claire suddenly demanded to check his homework, but Mike brushed her off with a quick kiss, using the excuse that he was too tired from work. This only deepened Claire's suspicions. Late at night, Mike was suddenly woken up by a strange noise. He thought there might be a burglar in the house, but when he followed the sound, He found that Peyton had accidentally dropped something on the floor, wearing nothing but a thin nightgown. Her body was faintly visible, sending Mike's blood pressure through the roof. Peyton then invited Mike for a drink, but unexpectedly, Mike turned out to be a real gentleman, firmly rejecting her advances. The next day, Claire took Mike's dirty laundry to the dry cleaners, only for the shopkeeper to pull a woman's lighter from the pocket. Claire instantly recognized it as her friend. This discovery confirmed her suspicions, so her husband and best friend really had been fooling around behind her back. When she got home, she angrily threw the lighter at Mike.
Darling, you don't understand.
All right, Claire, calm down.
There's someone in the room.
Claire walked into the living room, half believing, half doubting, only to find all her closest loved ones gathered there. What was supposed to be a birthday surprise turned into a horrifying shock. Her best friend couldn't stay any longer and awkwardly left the scene. It turns out all of this was secretly orchestrated by She wanted to see Claire abandoned by everyone and eventually take her place. But Mike still didn't blame Claire. Instead, he gave her a warm hug. Claire reminded Mike to be careful around Peyton because she suspected Peyton was up to something. Ever since she came into their home, so many things had happened one after another. This was no mere coincidence. What they didn't know was only this entire conversation was being overheard through the intercom. Peyton heard every single word without missing anything. This made her harbor murderous thoughts toward Claire. Early the next morning, Peyton sneaked into the sunroom. She meticulously set up a deadly trap, planning to use the device to kill Claire and staged the scene as an accident. But man proposes, God disposes. Unexpectedly, Claire didn't enter the sunroom that day. Instead, she decided on a whim to go out and buy some new plants. Meanwhile, her best friend also made a significant discovery. NCO Manal Street finally found the real estate listing with the wind time. From her number she discovered that the original owner of the house was the one who committed suicide. Marble inlet scene change her shock. She discovered that the original owner of the house was the one who committed suicide. Chicken miles ahead. Sure enough, she saw a woman's face on the news page. With spreads of law urgently pulled out the newspaper from back then. Her best friend rushed to Claire's house in a panic and confronted Peyton face to face about her true identity. It turned out she was the wife of the deceased doctor. After the doctor's suicide, the government froze all his assets to deal with the lawsuits. Their only house was also seized by the bank. Even worse, Peyton collapsed under the overwhelming blow. Although she was rushed to the hospital, she not only lost the baby in her womb, but also had to undergo a hysterectomy. In just one night, she lost everything. After that, hatred completely consumed her heart. She vowed to reclaim everything from Claire. That is why she came here for revenge. Seeing her identity exposed, Peyton conceived the murderous intent. She lied saying Claire was in the greenhouse. Her unsuspecting best friend rushed in. But the next moment, after confirming her best friend was dead, Peyton yanked all of Claire's asthma medication. Then as usual, she left the house pushing a stroller, creating an alibi for herself. Not long after, Claire returned home. However, when she entered the greenhouse, she saw the tragic state of her best friend. The sudden shock triggered her asthma attack instantly. She rushed back into the house. In excruciating pain, she made the wisest decision of her life. She first dialed emergency services, and then went to find her medication. However, she found all the asthma meds at home were empty, and the one she carried with her had been left at the greenhouse entrance. As her breathing became more and more rapid, she eventually collapsed at the door, quietly waiting for death alone. Just as Peyton thought her plan had succeeded, she suddenly saw 2 ambulances speeding towards Claire's house. This made her panic, and when she hurried back, she found doctors performing emergency treatment on Claire. Fortunately, the rescue was timely, and Claire narrowly survived, but she still needed to stay in the hospital for observation for a while. A heavy rain poured outside, yet the black gardener, who had been driven away earlier, remained downstairs guarding the place. Meanwhile, upstairs, Peyton felt the timing was ripe, so she took the initiative to pick up a towel and wiped Mike's body, gazing at him affectionately. She thought everything would fall into place naturally, but unexpectedly, Mike rejected her again. Not long after, Mike brought Claire back home. As soon as they walked in, he noticed the bracelet on Peyton's wrist, his own gift. Clearly, she was eager to take his place. But it is not over. When Claire first walked into the nursery, I found out that Peyton had rearranged the room without authorization and left her more lost. After dinner, she saw Peyton happily playing cards with her husband and daughter. They look more like a family. But at the moment, Claire has no interest in that, because she suspects that her best friend's death is something else. She came to her best friend's office. I saw the sale information of Halsey on the table. And there's a breast pump on the windowsill. Claire understood everything in an instant. She returned home in anger. Mike saw this and wanted to stop it, but Claire told the truth. Who knows Peyton, whose identity has been debunked, is not instead calmly left the house. But Claire felt unsafe at home, decided to go to the hotel for a few days. But while they were packing, and Mike heard a strange noise coming from the basement. He followed the sound to Peyton's room. 8:10 sound, just the alarm clock went off. Therefore, did not care. Who knows when he was about to go upstairs. The noise alerted Claire upstairs. She immediately realized the danger, so he gave the house key to his daughter. Tell her to lock the door. Don't come out anyway. She went to the basement to check the situation.